Welcome to the first of two component-free screencasts examining feminist theories of social inequality. The main sociological explanation for gender inequalities comes from feminism. Now, it's important to acknowledge that there are in fact different strands of feminism, but that most feminists share some common core beliefs. So firstly, most feminists are in agreement that gender difference forms the major source of inequality in society. And furthermore, they argue that much of our culture has been shaped by men and that the contribution of women within society is often invisible or overlooked. Now, one thing that unites all the different versions of feminism is that they're all opposed to biological theories of male domination. Biological theories of male domination are based on essentialism, and essentialism is the belief that feminine and masculine characteristics express men and women's biological natures. So it's claimed, for example, from this perspective, that women are the weaker sex and that their reproductive functions and ability to bear children means that they should focus on the home and the family. And there are a variety of biological theories which suggest that males and females are psychologically and emotionally different, usually suggesting that because women can have children, they are more biologically suited to care for them. And feminism has developed as a direct challenge to this type of thinking. So in opposition to biological theories of male domination, feminists argue that differences between men and women cannot be reduced to differences in biology and are instead created by society. So from this perspective, gender roles therefore vary according to both time and place. In other words, they are socially constructed. And feminists would argue that differences between individuals of the same sex are often much greater than the differences between the sexes on average. Now, the book that you can see on the slide at the moment, The Feminine Mystique, by Betty Friedan, came out in 1963 and challenged the biological idea that women were by nature fulfilled by devoting their lives to being mothers and housewives. So from the perspective of feminism, this biological idea is part of a patriarchal ideology. In other words, it's an idea that supports and justifies or legitimates the power of men. As well as being a core theoretical perspective in sociology, it's also important to recognise that feminism is and has been a very important social and political movement that has contributed to significant social change in society. And it's argued that feminism as a movement can be seen as emerging in different phases of history, and that each of these phases, known as waves of feminism, has focused on particular concerns. So first wave feminism is the term that is used to describe the first phase of the feminist social movement, which began in the UK at the end of the 18th century and culminated with the granting of the vote to women at the same age as men in the UK in 1928. So this first wave of feminism was focused on the struggle to achieve political equality for women. The second phase of feminism as a social movement occurred in the 1960s and 1970s and is often referred to as the women's liberation movement, and this embraced a wide range of demands, including demands for equal pay and legislation against sexual discrimination. And the focus of this second wave of feminism is summed up by their slogan, "The personal is political." And this slogan refers to the view that many of the personal problems that women experience in their lives are the result of the unequal way that society is organised, which gives men more power over women. And this leads to women's oppression in the private sphere of the home and family, and also to inequalities in the public sphere of work, politics and so on. And key issues for this second wave of feminism really focused on achieving anti-discrimination policies and equal rights for women. And within this period of second wave feminism, different strands of feminist theory started to emerge, including liberal feminism, radical feminism and Marxist feminism. The third wave of feminism as a movement developed from the mid-1990s and has focused less on the law and politics and more on issues of individual identity. So third wave feminism acknowledges that women come from many different backgrounds, many ethnicities, many nationalities, many religions and faiths, many cultural backgrounds, and therefore from this perspective there can be no single approach to feminism. And third wave feminists argue that they want women to define feminism for themselves in a way that reflects their own identities and belief systems. More recently, contemporary feminists have focused on using the internet to challenge sexism and bring about social change, and this development is sometimes referred to as fourth wave feminism. And examples of the use of the internet by feminists in recent years within the UK would include the success of the Everyday Sexism project, which began as a social media campaign in 2012, and this social media campaign had the aim of documenting experiences of sexism, harassment and assault to show how bad the problem is and to create a movement for social change. We've also had the internet campaign to put pressure on the Sun to abolish page 3, and we've had the emergence of new internet-based feminist networks such as UK Feminist. Now, as I mentioned a moment ago, the second wave of feminism saw the development of several strands of feminist theory, such as liberal, Marxist and radical feminism, and these remain a useful way of distinguishing between some of the different viewpoints on gender inequality that are held by feminists, and we will examine these perspectives in the next screencast.